Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Well, Harry Spaight believes that, like him, many people know the importance of sales, yet do not want to be viewed as a stereotypical salesperson. However, Harry thinks that there is an easy way to sell, and that is through developing a mindset of serving and mastering the principles of selling with dignity. Having transitioned from missionary work to sales, Harry has written a book about how to sell with dignity, and he joins us now to tell us more. Harry, for many years, Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy have been leading the way in sales training, with the importance of storytelling, psychology and process being the hallmarks of their approaches. What are your thoughts on this?
Good morning, Karl. It's great to be here. Oh, I love both of those individuals. They have meant a lot to me over the years. And really, when I look at Zig Ziglar, one of the things that I got out of him was you can get whatever you want in life based on what you give to others, and that is a principle I live by. And then, of course, Brian Tracy, to me, is like the master of virtually everything that is related to sales. I look back at my sales history and career, and I said, is there anything that's original, or did it all come from Brian Tracy?
And Harry, I know that along the way, one book that had a major influence on your own career was The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. Talk to us about that. Yes,
that book is, well, prior to being in sales, I did mission work for a number of years. And when I found that book in my family member's bookcase, it talked about the ancient scrolls, and it applied the scrolls of life to sales. And a couple of those scrolls would be, one is, I will greet each day with love in my heart. And another one is, I will persist until I succeed. And when that's applied to sales, you just greet the world with love, and you recognize you're in for the long game, and it's going to take work, but you just have to stay persistent. And I live by that book, and I still do in some regards today.
And what inspired you to move from the world of missionary work to selling?
Well, I had some communication skills that I developed in the mission field. And so people that I knew in business said, you should really look into sales because of the skills that you've developed. And I really knew very little about selling. So that's why I read the book, The Greatest Salesman in the World. That kind of opened up my eyes to it. But a lot of those skills were very transferable to sales.
So how did the experience as the missionary actually help you to develop your approach to selling then?
Some of the big things I learned as a missionary was really to learn to listen and to show empathy with people. People really want to feel heard. And, when you're doing the mission work, it's not about changing the world as much as it is helping individuals to feel good about the lives they're living. And maybe you can help them to some degree. But in the end, listening to understand people, which is also in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or Successful People by Stephen Covey, was a super trait that I carried over into sales.
How do you think the general public perceive salespeople today?
Well, yeah, great question. I think there's a lot of mistrust with salespeople because of all of the scam phone calls, the spam emails, just the fact that you could turn on the radio or television and you see some shady commercial about sales, and the way Hollywood portrays it. I think most people perceive salespeople as kind of shady individuals that would do anything to get a sale.
And how does a genuine salesperson overcome that challenge?
Yeah, the key there is, Karl, is that a person really needs to show the exact opposite of what is portrayed in Hollywood. So instead of leading with themselves and with their product and always pitching, the better thing to do is to look for ways to serve the person across from you, be an attentive, active listener, and provide incredible value for that person outside of your product that you're selling.
The best traits of a salesperson is they need to be a great listener, and in addition to that, they need to be able to ask the right questions. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. The questions should go beyond related to discovery about someone's product or service. The questions that really generate the relationship in trust relate to what's top of mind for you these days. How long have you been doing this? And asking questions beginning with the words what and how to get more of a conversation going, and then feeding off of that conversation so that you're really showing genuine interest in the person versus just asking questions about your product in a discovery meeting.
Whilst the salesperson may have a sales process, the customer also has a buying process, whether they realise it or not. How important is it for the salesperson to understand their customer's buying process?
Yeah, I think this is huge in the sense that a lot of people go into sales thinking it's all about their own sales process. And hey, guess what, folks? The customer, like you mentioned, they have their own process. So you may be introducing something to them that they've not really even investigated or explored before. So now their thinking has changed. They have awareness. But for them to make a decision, they have to maybe round up their stakeholders in their business. They have to have conversations, additional meetings, maybe even meet with competitive offerings. So understanding that is huge for one's sales success.
And of course, with the emergence and growth in digital marketing channels, the world of sales has changed dramatically.
Yes, I would say back 20 years ago or so, before the rise of the digital marketing and before the rise of Google, people would look at salespeople as having something to learn from. So it wasn't uncommon for a customer or client to ask me, so what's new in the industry these days, or what should I be aware of, or what's coming down the pike? They do all that today with Google. They really don't need us until they're almost ready to buy. So if we can get in there early and provide value for them and share some insights, then that, I think, is extremely helpful to be in harmony, right, to work together with the digital marketing that's going on out there as well.
So what inspired you then to write the book, Selling with Dignity?
Yes, simply put, is that I made a very successful career out of selling, being the anti-salesperson. I never really fit in with the sales bullpen mentality that you see in the movies like Wolf of Wall Street or Boiler Room. I was the spiritual guy, looked at the big picture of things, and I just wanted to serve people. And I said, there's a lot of business owners out there like me, a lot of people in sales who feel like they're not cut out for sales, and they can do things by serving people first. They can live a very healthy lifestyle, very successful life.
Some of the issues come in at the handling objection stage and also at the closing the sales stage. Let's look at handling objections. How can a salesperson handle these with dignity?
I love this conversation because years ago, I used to be really great at overcoming objections. But what I was missing was showing empathy. So people are raising objections. We call these objections in sales, but the reality is they're concerns. And so the concerns are, wow, this is more than I thought it was going to cost, or I'm not sure I'm ready for this, or maybe I need to talk to more competitors. And when we view it that way, instead of objections, we start thinking about ourselves and what we would do. And then we can say things like, I understand, I would do the same. And now you're sitting on the same side of the table, and that can help you become more relatable.
Of course, salespeople will say the most common objection that they will get is in relation to price. It's just too expensive. How do you handle that one?
That has to be handled early on. When you are finding out that your price is too high, it's typically you have not created enough value in the conversations that led to this. And then, so if you look back and say, okay, what is this person's problem, and are they willing to pay to solve the problem? And if that's the case, if you could build that up from early on, you're going to find this price objection much fewer times than originally. And then You can deal with these as to asking simple questions. What's your take as to what the price should be? What are you seeing out there that's different? I'm happy to discuss because I want you to feel comfortable with whatever decision you make.
Finally, Harry, what are your top 3 tips for mastering the art of selling with dignity?
Yeah, first of all, I would say is that the number one thing is that you want to view your clients as people, as human beings that have similar issues and challenges as you do, that want to feel heard, that someone is there to listen to them. So viewing them as people, showing people that you're a great listener and that you have empathy for them and that you're just a good person that eventually learns to ask for the business.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Harry Spaight, the author of Selling with Dignity, and I'd like to thank Harry for his contribution to this morning's show.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.